online at wgnsradio.com. Rutherford County's most trusted source for local news. CBS Radio News.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Christopher Cruz in Washington. In the Ukrainian capital overnight, an hours-long bombardment by Russian drones and ballistic missiles. The attack prompted a surprising statement this morning from President Trump. CBS's Michael Wallace has that.
In a rare rebuke of the Russian president, Trump posted on social media, quote, "I am not happy with the Russian strikes on Kyiv. Not necessary and very bad timing. Vladimir, stop. 5,000 soldiers a week are dying. Let's get the peace deal done."
The Russian missiles and drones killed at least 8 people and injured more than 70. It was the deadliest attack on the city since July. President Trump is softening his tone on the steep tariffs he's imposed on China. CBS's Ed O'Keefe has that from the White House.
It's all in response here at the White House, at least, to the fact that the markets have been jittery over the last few weeks since this began. He's trying to get the numbers back up. They have improved because the tone, at least, has shifted, and the signal from the president is that 145% tariff is coming down.
China today disputed the president's claim that the two countries are in active negotiations over the tariffs. Police have arrested a 19-year-old man they say set wooden pallets on fire, sparking that huge wildfire in southern New Jersey. Smoke from the fire is affecting New York City's air quality. The city's emergency management commissioner, Zach Issel.
The wind is primarily in our favor. And then again, we have these amazing men and women who are fighting the fire on the ground, hopefully getting it fully under control.
The fire is now 50% contained, but is expected to grow until rain moves in over the next few days. As of this morning, it's grown to more than 23 square miles in the Pine Barrens. A lighting issue has forced the recall of more than 150,000 of Acura's most popular vehicles. From Detroit, WWJ radio reporter Jeff Gilbert.
Moisture that enters through the tailgate of the Acura MDX can cause the internal and external lighting to fail. There have been 3,800 warranty claims related to the issue on 2014 through 2020 model year MDXs.
Researchers say they have found that middle-aged adults in the U.S. and the Netherlands are experiencing higher levels of loneliness than older adults. If you're lonely, what can you do about it? Psychiatrist Sue Varma.
You have to be very intentional and deliberate and put yourself into what we call third spaces. These bookstores, these cafes, pickleball, cycling clubs, really make yourself available to social interaction.
China this morning launched 3 astronauts to replace the crew on its space station. The crew will reach the station in a few hours. China says it's putting 1 or more people on the moon before 2030. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers. So don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-378-5959. That's 800-378-5959. Once again, 800-378-5959.
Don't miss the Rick Burgess Show, weekdays 11 to 2 here on News Radio, WGNS.
The Rick Burgess Show, weekdays 11 to 2 on News Radio WGNS. We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Good morning. This is Bill Krause, WGNS Radio Roundtable for Thursday morning edition on a little drizzly, actually a little rainy day in which traffic was not cooperative at all. We are starting off this morning with a wonderful friend, a great representative of this state, a lady that brings tremendous commitment and dedication to the best of the people of Tennessee. Good morning, Senator Marsha Blackburn.
And good morning to you. I'm delighted to join you.
Well, it's always great to have you back, and I understand you're in Tennessee, so we could have just had you come on over to Murfreesboro.
That's exactly right. I could have come that direction, and I will tell you, though, you're right about the traffic and the weather this morning. It is pretty dicey out there, isn't it?
Well, that's why I was late and got everybody nervous because there was an accident and I had to go around about 10 miles. Let's talk about the first 100 days of President Donald Trump. We're just about next week to celebrate it.
That's exactly right. We're approaching that 100 days. And as I look back over this first 100 days and compare his actions to the campaign and where he went during the campaign, the comments he made, I think you sum it up by saying promises made and promises kept. And that's what he has done. And he is working every single day. And he's accomplishing so much for the American people. I think he's actually working at a quicker pace than any other president that we've seen. And of course, as we've all watched the American people respond, they like the fact that he has secured our southern border. He really did that on day one in that executive order. But people wanted to put an end to these open border policies, and certainly the president has done that. And the deportations of the criminal illegal aliens that's an action that a vast majority of the American people support. They also support the Lake and Riley Act, which was the first bill that he had signed. And that is a piece of legislation that many of us had worked on provisions in that to give local law enforcement more power to apprehend, detain, and work with ICE to deport these criminal illegal aliens. So we thought that was a good move. When it comes to the economy, inflation is coming down and investment in our country is increasing. In this first 100 days, we have seen $3 trillion of foreign investment coming into into our country, private investment, private dollars that are investing in energy and chips, in manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, that is choosing to move onshore instead of being done in other countries. And energy is something that he is pushing forward. That is something important to us in our state. The president declared a national energy emergency. Of course, we all know you can't do economic development without energy. You can't run manufacturing without energy. And so that energy production, getting that up is, he's declared an emergency on that. You've got DOGE out there that is reducing what the federal government spends and bringing to account some of these agencies, programs that have outlived their usefulness. And indeed, they've already made $160 billion in spending restrictions. Something that I have worked on quite a bit is protecting women and girls in women's sports. And the president did an executive order. I was actually at the White House in February when he did this, and he banned men from women's sports. So those are all actions that he's taken and accomplishments that he has had during this first 100 days.
You know what my concern is, though, and being a political scientist all my life and a political junkie as I've always been, and I've looked back in history, I don't believe there's any president, including Franklin D. Roosevelt, that had more things going on in the first 100 days. I begin to wonder whether the American people can accept so much change in such a short period of time. It's almost like every day something new. It's unbelievable. So can the people, can the public accept and respond to so much change in such a small period of time?
Yeah, Bill, that is one thing I thought, is his pace going to outpace the American people? But I will run into people when I'm out and about, and they'll say, look, we're not tired of winning.
Okay, good.
They'll say, when are you all going to do this? Or when are you taking up that? And when are we going to have the tax cuts permanent? We thought we could get that done quicker. So I think the American people on November 5th voted for change, and they want to see that change, and they're looking forward to it. They're watching it. I have found it truly fascinating that as the president is working at such a fast clip, they are absorbing it at a fast clip. Great. And they're looking at us and saying, well, why can't you all move forward with this or that, working through the legislative process?
One question, and I'm certainly, and you would love to confirm, with all the misinformation, bad news, and so forth, please reconfirm, because you are a strong advocate of this, that Social Security and Medicare and all the related support services will remain intact.
Oh, absolutely. The president has said time and again that there are not going to be any cuts to the beneficiaries of Social Security. What he is doing, DOGE is doing, and Congress is doing, is trying to root out the waste, fraud, and abuse. Things like, we know there are 1.3 million illegal aliens in the country that somehow got a Social Security number and got on Medicare.
Wow.
When they are fraudulently on that program, what they are doing is taking benefits that should be going to enrollees. And we know that the Social Security Trust Fund Board has said that they would run through their reserves by the time we get to 2032, 33, right along in there. So rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse actually extends the Social Security Fund.
Absolutely.
Also, you've got people that are, pardon me, reportedly 125 years old.
I hope you're not referring to me.
150, 160, 200 years old that are on the Social Security rolls. Now, Bill, if somebody is fraudulently receiving a check and cashing that check, they should be prosecuted. Those payments to the individual need to stop. That money needs to be recouped. There is no reason that these individuals should have access to those Social Security funds and those Medicare benefits. So cutting this out is an important thing to do. Also, utilizing technology and somewhat using AI to work through the process of delivering these benefits more seamlessly so that you're saving money on the administrative end, because those administrative costs are coming out of that fund.
You've been a congresswoman here. How many years were you in Congress representing Murfreesboro and Rutherford County? For a long time. How many years was that?
I was in the U.S. House for 16 years.
Wow. 8 terms.
Yeah. Yes, and thoroughly grateful for that opportunity to represent the people of the 7th Congressional District, and then, of course, serving in the Senate. This is my 7th year
Boy,
in the
time
Senate,
flies.
and just yes, it does, and so honored to be there and to be able to work with Tennesseans every single day and help them with solving problems and their engagement with the federal government and resolving issues that they have, and doing my part to work with our governor and our state legislative delegations, our mayors, our county commissions and city councils, and make Tennessee the very best place to live, to work, to rear a family.
Speaking of the governor and speaking of the legislature and speaking of Tennessee, might I ask, is that in your future?
We are seriously considering it, and we know that power is coming back to the state on so many issues that are important to us: health care, education, energy, regulation, benefits. And it is a time where we're going to see state governments reset how they do business. And Tennessee has been a well-governed, well-led, well-managed state. And we have the opportunity to be our nation's conservative leader. We have the opportunity to chart the path on how you deliver health care into communities, and a lot of rural communities that have lost their hospitals, and how you increase those access points, how you make certain that your state and your local school boards have the power and the authority to set those agendas and those curriculums. And as we are number one in jobs recruitment in this state, we should be number one in education for our children. Energy, we've got TVA. TVA should be the leader in nuclear energy, and the president wants a nuclear renaissance and an energy dominance. TVA has the opportunity to deliver on that. We hold the license for the only SMR out at Clinch River. We should move forward with that permitting, that grant, that application, and get going on this.
My final question, and I have a young man here who's part of a team who will be part of our visit right after we hang up, Josh Strickland, who has been in the Tennessee National Guard, commits himself very significantly to the military. He wants to give a shout out on thank you for veterans.
Senator Blackburn, I just want to thank you and your office. Last year when I come off active duty, your office, I reached out to your office, and your office expedited my VA claim. And I really appreciate your commitment to veterans and to this great state, Tennessee, and the United States of America.
Well,
thank you, Josh. I appreciate that, and thank you for your service to our country. I serve on the Veterans Affairs Committee in the Senate, and as you probably know, one of the things that we are working on is the Community Care Act that would allow our veterans to seek health care in their communities without having to get that permission slip from the VA after they've waited many times 30 to 90 days to get that primary care appointment so they can get that slip. And we think our veterans deserve better, and they deserve more options for how and when they receive their health care. And with the National Guard, we are hard at work making certain that plans are in place, and we're on schedule for moving the Guard from over at the Nashville airport out to Smyrna. And the mayor there, County Mayor Carr, who does such a great job for Rutherford County, we have all been looking at this, working on it, and making certain that that is going to be a good, solid transition and a way to help grow the Guard and its presence in our state.
In our remaining 2 minutes, I'll give you a topic that could probably take 2 hours. You serve on one of the committees that deal with Greenland, Panama, etc. What is your status, or is it the status that can be described on future of Panama in the U.S. and future of Greenland and Denmark in the U.S., and even the fact of, and I think I sent this to your office, that if we were ever to merge with Canada, and I like to call it a merger, not an acquisition, we should be going province by province, 11 provinces, 2 senators from each province.
Yes, and let me take Greenland first, because I think that was such a surprise to people. But we do need to strengthen our ties with Greenland because of the Chinese Communist Party and the Russians. And they're trying to take over the Arctic, including those shipping lanes and also the natural resources, the rare earth minerals that are there in Greenland. And we cannot let the Chinese Communist Party win. That is an imperative. So it is vitally important that we strengthen our partnership with Greenland and that we boost our national and our economic security to fend off these attacks from the CCP and from Russia for years to come. So Greenland's a part of that. When it comes to Panama and the Panama Canal, we are seeing the president work aggressively with this issue. What we have seen is a U.S. company is taking over those key points at either end of the canal, and to have these ports under control of a U.S.-led company instead of a Chinese Communist Party affiliated company is something that is vitally important. We do not want China to have the ability to throttle our access to that canal or to prohibit some of our commercial or our military vessels from passage in that. So by taking these points of entry, which are those ports at either end, we strengthen our hand in the control on that. Canada, they want to be our trading partner. I know they have come to the table to negotiate and work on strengthening the USMCA, and I think we probably will hear more about what they want to do to strengthen that in the next few weeks.
Senator Blackburn, it's always a wonderful personal and a professional pleasure to have you with us. And would you do me a huge favor? Next time you see President Trump, would you give him our best wishes from WGNS and Rutherford County?
I would love to do that. It's always a pleasure to join you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye now.
Do you love WGNS Radio? Well, now you can watch it too. WGNS Big GTV brings your favorite radio shows live and on demand. From breaking news and community talk to Rutherford County's top local sports. We've got it all right at your fingertips. Watch anytime, anywhere. WGNS Big GTV, where radio comes to life.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular to get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and now for a limited time, new customers can get their second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit a store near you, or consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Looking for great deals on name brand clothing, furniture, and more? Visit the Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street across from the tall downtown NHC building in Murfreesboro. Our competitive prices and quality selection make it easy to find exactly what you need. And here's the best part, 100% of your purchase supports Greenhouse Ministries, helping over 70 families a day. When you shop at the Garden Patch, you're not just getting a deal, you're making a difference. The Garden Patch Thrift Shop on Spring Street in Murfreesboro.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
You've probably heard it a million times. If you're injured, call a lawyer. And you probably haven't because you don't know how much it will cost, how long it will take, or even if you have a case. At the law offices of John Day, we provide a free initial consultation because we understand that folks don't want to pay a lawyer only to find out they don't have a case. If you think we can help, we do so on a contingency basis, which means we only get paid if you do. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. You've heard us talking with Cliff Sharp over at Greenhouse Ministries about their family culture class. And the culture class is in the dining room there at Greenhouse Ministries. It's absolutely free and will benefit your family. That's on the third Tuesday of each month, 6 o'clock in the evening at Greenhouse Ministries. Well, our local Rutherford County Public Library is offering free computer classes. You need to be a part of that. And if your smartphone is challenging you, drop into any of the Rutherford County Public Libraries and they'll work with you to figure it out. No charge. The Rutherford County Public Libraries are there for you. Here's something else. Sometimes we just need to get together and help each other. There's a grief support group every Wednesday morning at 10, and it's free, over at the St. Clair Street Senior Center here in Murfreesboro. That's Wednesday mornings at 10. And the St. Clair Center is at 312 St. Clair Street. This reminder, we're critically low on blood. Please give blood to the Red Cross. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor Events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see a few scattered showers and thunderstorms here this afternoon with cloudy skies, a high in the upper 70s. Tonight, chance for rain and storms, a low near 61. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 62.
Rutherford County's 24th annual Earth Day celebration is Saturday, April 26th, 10 to 2 on the Murfreesboro Square. Middle Tennessee Electric is proud to be the primary sponsor and organizer. Free fun for the whole family, April 26th on the Square. rcearthday.com for more info.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back. Bill Krause on the WGNS Radio Roundtable Thursday morning edition. One of the most significant subjects that people are concerned about today, very significant, is housing. And can they buy housing? Is it available? Can they afford it? Can they qualify? And we're very fortunate to have a wonderful 3-member team that is representing several different aspects of housing. We're having Melinda Lawson of Cardinal Realtor Solutions. And along with Melinda from Cardinal is Josh Strickland. And they brought along a friend, guest, and an associate, Rhonda McCrary from Primus Mortgage. And they're going to be talking about the housing industry, the housing market, the funding for housing, the mortgage rates, the volatileness of finding a house, the volatileness of making a deal, and so forth. So I'm going to begin with Josh to head this off. And from Josh, I'll let you carry it away.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. I appreciate this opportunity. I want to just express that when you was my professor, he taught me a lot about economics. And that's why I was excited to go into the real estate business when I came off active orders last year.
Well, you got an A in the class, so it's going to work for you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I just want to give a big shout out to Melinda Lawson. I searched around Murfreesboro for several months before I made a decision to go with Cardinal Realty Solutions, and I really feel like the Cardinal Realty Solutions, we have the understanding of what it takes to help home buyers and sellers to make their real estate dreams come true.
And so, Melinda, Talk about the field today. Houses available, priced competitively, escrows closing, inventory expanding or declining. What's the overall housing industry from your perspective in Rutherford County?
The market today is somewhat a roller coaster. I mean, it just seems like it's day to day. Today it's like you're qualified. Tomorrow rates change and knock people out. But there are so many programs out there to help people get into homes. So I don't want people to be scared to go out if they're looking for a house and go out to search for their future home. People still need to move. People still need to sell. People's lives still change. The housing, people still need a place to live. And we have great lenders that help us with products that help these first-time home buyers come out, because a lot of people think that you have to have 20% down to buy a house, and you don't. There are programs with less down and programs for first-time home buyers to help them get into homes, and just a lot of different ways to work that product to help people be able to afford housing these days.
Would you say there's a inventory more or less of starter homes, which would be what, 250 to 400,000 or upper? I may be off range, but I'm just thinking from my perspective and what I own and so forth. I still consider 250 to 400 a starter home, or am I too high right now?
I will say when I first bought my first house, when it was $125,000, and we were, how are we going to pay this payment? That house today, you wouldn't be able to find that house today for that. I would say what I'm looking at is your starter homes are going to be above 3. I'm not in the Rutherford County area. If you're needing to go, if you're willing to go out, maybe out into more rural areas, you might could find something a little bit less costly. But to be in that Rutherford County area, is that fair to say, Rhonda?
Oh, yeah.
That you're finding that in your loans, that it's going to be, when I'm searching for first-time home buyers or just anybody, I'm not finding a lot under, and honestly, I'm not finding a lot of investment properties that are easily flippable, for these days.
Rhonda, certainly the mortgage industry and the banking industry and the finance industry has certainly been in a volatile area. If you were talking to a couple, or a person, could be one or the other, about what steps they need to take about qualifying, applying, what's out there for a mortgage rate, is it easy? Is it hard? Is it unpredictable? How would you describe, and I could probably just talk about April 24th because April 25th may be a different market. How would you describe today's mortgage market?
I mean, actually, we got a lot of people pre-approved. We're pre-approving people all the time. And when I talk to somebody, I don't want to know, what's your Credit Karma score or anything like that. I'm telling them, go ahead, do your application online on my website, and I'll do a soft pull on your credit, which is that way I don't hit their credit or anything. That way I can see, is your credit going to be right? Do we need to do any work there? Because if we need to do any work on your credit, we need to do this now before you go out and get in the car with one of these guys and look at a house.
You want to explain that for a second? Repairing your credit, because I don't know if that many people really are aware of what you can do with the 3 credit reporting agencies.
Yeah, you can. I mean, it'll tell us, like, whenever I pull somebody's credit, they may have a 550 credit score, which is not a really good credit score. So their middle credit score, we take the middle of the 3 scores, and it may be a 550, but it may say that if they do, they may have a potential of immediately getting up to a 650. If they pay. And so I go to the credit bureau and I say, what do they have to do? So we go in there, we get all the information, and they may need to pay down 5 different credit cards. Just not pay them off, just pay them down to a certain point. And, wait a few days, I'll do another soft pull. And so it that way before they even get discouraged or anything like that. And if they're self-employed, then I will go and get their tax returns first and foremost. I get their tax returns. I always analyze income because it seems like to me since the pandemic, a lot of people don't work 40 hours a week like they used to. I don't know why, but so
they're at home.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. But FHA made a rule a few years ago that they have to average. So if they work 40 hours a week and they get paid $20 an hour, you can go that, and they do work 40 hours a week. But say they work 40 hours this week, 35 next week, then I have to average it for the 2 years, which is fine. I mean, so that way we got an accurate number. So when I say, okay, this person right here qualifies for $450,000 up to $450,000, then the next thing I do is go to that person and say, hey, what do you?
And even on credit, that probably a large number of people don't realize, credit agencies make mistakes, or they don't receive the update of an account, for example, or they may have not done anything with it. You can find errors when you go through a credit report. I think I would suggest, and I'm sure you do this, is pull the credit report and analyze it. Gee, I paid that debt off 5 years ago. Why is it still hanging around? So, just the mere fact of it. You're recommending, of course, that people get pre-approved before they even look at the first piece of property.
Yes.
And that way a seller or a seller's agent is going to be a little more pleased that this is a serious buyer rather than somebody who is knocking on windows.
Right.
Let's talk about, let's take a scenario. Let's take somebody who's listening to WGNS this morning. They may be renting. Rents have been going up on a very high level and so forth. And they begin to calculate, or are they calculating, what advantage would there be financially for me to buy rather than for me to rent? And many of them, and I always recommend this to people, is look at your income tax and see if you had that tax deduction of the home interest and the taxes, etc., and you credited that against your income, what would be your tax advantage? And can you apply that tax advantage to offsetting your monthly payment? And I think this is also a place to start. But when you have somebody come into the office for the first time, or you hear about a home first buyer and so forth, what are you looking for? What are you telling them? What are they looking for in terms of a home?
As far as if they're talking to me, they're just wanting to know what their payment's going to be. Because people, at the end of the day, they don't care if the interest rate's 12%. They want to know what that payment is. You always buy the payment. You want the house and everything, but you got to be comfortable with that. So that's kind of where we start. I'm always like, where are you kind of thinking you want your payment to be?
It's almost like I went with a couple of weeks ago helping them buy a car. And I did not realize in the auto industry today that you can finance up to 84 months. So the payment looks pretty reasonable, but you're still paying that same payment on an old car of 7 years old. And you're saying, hey, what about this? Let's talk about how you show property. Somebody comes in, and what specs do you look for? And I've always recommended, and Melissa, you may want to address this, I would visit the existing residence of the prospective buyer and see whether they're in a crowded, dark facility or a lot of window, a lot of open space. See what their environment is, and would you try to replicate the environment that they are living in to what they're looking for?
So we do what's called buyer consultations. It's a free consultation. So anyone from a first-time home buyer to if they've bought several homes, we invite them in. We can go to them. They can come to our office, wherever is comfortable for them to come in, and we go through the process, because if you haven't bought a home in 15, 20 years, it's definitely different now. I mean, it's actually even different now than it was 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes.
So we try to explain to them the process that we're going to go through, just what money they're going to need, how things are going to work, and then kind of get a feel of what they're looking for. What are their pains and what are their pleasures? What do they want out of a house, but what then they really need out of a house? Do you need a home office space? Are you working from home and you're looking for a 2-bedroom and you've got 4 people living in your house, but then you're also working from home. I'm feeling those pains. Is that going to work for you? But I also tell people when you're going, before we send them to the lender, we need to figure out your budget. Because when I send you to like Rhonda and she's getting her pre-qualified, I want to know not how much they qualify for, but also how much they're comfortable spending. Because a lot of people will qualify for more than what they actually are comfortable paying a payment for.
Mm-hmm.
So then I tell them to, hey, give your lender an idea of what that payment, what you're comfortable with, and then let's figure out how much house you can buy. Because we don't want to get out there looking at $300,000 homes. You're getting frustrated because you can't find what you're looking for, but you could have gone up to $400,000. Also, we don't want to find you a $600,000 home. You fall in love with it, and you find out what that payment is, and now you're heartbroken. So there's a lot of things on the front end we kind of cover the process throughout before we even go in to showing them their first house. We want to make sure that they understand their costs, how the process lays out, so that we can eliminate as much stress and confusion as possible on the front end and kind of have a plan.
Do you educate them about homeowners associations?
Yes. Yes.
Please.
Yes.
I sit on a number of boards of HOAs, and probably the amount of first-time buyers, after you've been a buyer and an owner, you suddenly recognize that you've got a whole new level of people watching what you do and watching what you don't do. So you have to warn them of the HOA.
Yes, and we also warn them, some HOAs are more strict than others.
Yes.
Some are just, hey, we just need to mow the field over here. We need money. But some are very, very, you can't change your light fixtures and you can't do this. So it's kind of, what kind of environment do you want to be in? So
what's your normal length of time of escrow? And of course that would vary, but is 30 to 45 days still a norm?
I would say yes. We can usually get that.
I mean, we can get it closed in probably 15 to 20 days
really?
If we need to. I mean, sometimes we can even close quicker than that.
If you have an inspection done within a short period.
If we have an appraisal, we do we save a lot of deals, so there's sometimes we can get them done in 8 days. So that's the minimum, though.
And not just the lender, but you have your inspection period process. We need to make sure the title company has time to get the title back and get their payoffs back, because sometimes the mortgage companies don't get back to you very quickly. Sometimes they're a week out getting back off those payoffs, so sometimes that holds the title company up. So, and some of these first-time home buyer programs take a little bit longer because it has to go through the lending process, and then it has to go through their underwriting as well. So that's why when I know it's a first-time home buyer process, I usually try to do a 45 days. And if we can close sooner, that's great, but it kind of depends on how far they're backed up.
On the other side of the circle, the owner that's cutting down on square footage, reducing empty nest, and they want to reduce. Is that difficult for people who have been living in a 3,000 square foot home and they suddenly see a senior community which is 1,600 square feet? What do they do with the stuff? You have that issue?
I think that is an adjustment, but it's all about a person's situation at that time in their life is when they're ready to buy or sell a house. And so, I also want to give a big shout out to Rhonda. I've been working with her, and the transaction I've got closing next week, it just went so smooth because it's so important to have the right people in place and that you understand and you're listening to what your buyers and your sellers are wanting. And so everyone has a different situation, so you have to learn as a real estate agent. You have to learn to listen to what their desires are and where they're at in life, and then just do everything you can to possibly point them in the right direction.
I'm going to ask a word question. Of all the people, Melissa, that you have shown, and Josh are now in the field, who do you think is the primary decision maker on the ultimate decision of buying a house? Wife or husband? Or is that a loaded question?
That's a loaded question.
I know it is.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a case by case. It's a family by family. Sometimes when I'm sitting down with them, I can pinpoint which one is going to be the lead in this. I usually set out a sheet of paper to each of them, and I have them write their wants and their needs on both of them, and don't let them see what the other one's writing.
Wow.
And then we come back, and I'm like, okay, so y'all both agreed on this. You're agreeing, and we try to pinpoint that out. Right. But I think it is a case by case. I've seen it where the husband is whatever she wants, and as long as it's in this price point. Mm-hmm. And then I've seen it, hey, call my husband. I just want the kitchen. That's all I want, you know. So it really is I can't say it leans one way or another. It's
in your experience over the years, Melissa, would you be able to narrow down 3 primary criteria that the average home buyer, whether it's first time or long time buyer, that the average home buyer considers extremely important, 3 or 4 criteria that keeps popping up on that paper?
Again, I think it's still just, I have learned that a lot of things are depending on your place in your life. A lot of people, you know, storage, you know, is there a garage? Is there an attic? Where am I going to put my Christmas tree? Where am I going to put my car? Where am I going to put my boat? But I think things in life, through experience that I've talked to some people, you know, as we've gone out, is figure out where you are. Because I know when we started out, and you know, you have your main bedroom downstairs, your primary bedroom downstairs, and you have the other bedrooms upstairs. Then you have kids. Well, then my baby was upstairs and I'm downstairs, and that didn't work well. So we went to a 1 level. So you have to think about those things in life too. And then when our kids became teenagers, I was okay with the primary downstairs and the other bedrooms upstairs.
Maybe another house.
Yeah, it was like, go to your level, you know. So we try to help guide those people through those scenarios too. Think about this. Where are you at in life? Where do you want to be? If you're going to start a family, your baby's room is across the house, or it's upstairs on the other side, or, you know, is that going to be comfortable for you? But I still say updated kitchens, updated bathrooms, things that people don't. When a buyer is walking, for a seller, I try to tell my sellers, think when you're walking in what you don't want to do after having to pack up and move. So fresh paint, you know, does the kitchen look nice? Does the bathroom look nice? Is the carpets torn? You know, do they look nice? Just trying to keep, I think that's what, you know, a lot of things are today.
Well, you raised a fantastic question as a property investor. Should I invest in that or should I credit the amount of money to bring it up to date, and the buyer will have the opportunity to select carpet, to select colors, to select tile? Should I make it as a incentive that we're giving you a $10,000 credit to update, or should I do it myself to make the property look attractive?
Anything to sweeten the deal.
I mean, yeah. So, everybody's different.
So I know a lot of times, you know, people that they like curb appeal. They like houses that look good on the outside, and I've noticed a lot of people are leaning more towards, you know, your outside porches, your outside kitchens, your outside areas. Yes. And so it's anything you can do to, you know, make your outside curb appeal look more attractive, because people, they really enjoy, you know, having fire pits and outdoor kitchens and having TVs outside and speakers where they can watch, you know, the Tennessee Volunteers baseball team or whatever, or any sport. So it's just important that, you know, that you just have to learn what your clients are looking for, and, you know, and it's important that understand that buyers, they like new things. So
how do you evaluate, and then I'm going to call on Rhonda for a special question, how do you evaluate a neighborhood? You know, coming from being a city manager for a long period of time, I just from experience have the ability to look at a neighborhood and decide or define whether it's going up, whether it's going down, or whether it's stabilized. And you can go in a neighborhood and one street is on an upward, another street's on a downward, a third street's on a stabilization. How do you look to protect your investment that the neighborhood is going to remain in a quality mode, or the first time somebody parks a car in the front lawn, or the first time somebody doesn't replace a screen door in the front door? How do you start looking for telltale signs and Does that give you an indication of the prospect?
Well, that's a loaded question too.
I
Dr.
know
Bill,
it
but,
is.
I mean,
That's what we're having.
like
and
a
that's
loaded
where
question.
HOAs, have a plus because your HOAs. I'm also on the HOA board in my neighborhood, and so for the longest I fought the HOA as well, and then I realized that HOA is there to protect our investments. And that the main thing you need to understand about community, about neighborhood, where you're moving in, is you've got to learn to get to know your neighbors, and that's one thing that when I wanted to become a member of the HOA board, my focus was not so much to uphold the rules, and I will do that, but my focus was to bring neighbors together. And so when you go look at a neighborhood, those things are important, and if you have neighbors that know each other and care about each other, they're going to police up their neighbors as well.
You just hit a phenomenal point that in all the real estate I've done over the years, I think you just struck gold. And let me tell the gold. Let's say you and Melissa are showing me a piece of property, and this is going to be our home. And I want to know about the home. Would I be out of order to knock on the door of the neighbor to the left and neighbor to the right and saying, I'm considering moving? Tell me why I should move in this neighborhood. Should you introduce a prospect? Not every day you have a long line of people knocking on the door. Not the second time the neighbor's going to say, no, don't bother me. But should a prospective buyer meet a neighbor?
I have had buyers go, buy later and just see people out and stop and talk to them and just meet them. We as realtors cannot steer you to a neighborhood.
Okay.
But you as buyers are welcome to go and meet people in the neighborhood. If you want to drive by, if you see somebody outside, and as long as that buyer is not that neighbor is not offended that you're walking up to them, hopefully they're friendly because that's what you're looking for. And ask questions about the neighbors, about the neighborhood, about the house. Hey, if you're going to live there, I have had buyers do that, and that either help them choose that house because they're like, the neighbors were so sweet, they were so nice, they gave us a lot of insight. We really feel like we'd be comfortable there.
And you listen to see if they have a dog.
Yeah.
We'll be right.
But if you're a dog person, that might be all right.
We'll be right back after this special word.
At Turner Security, we bring cutting-edge protection with live video monitoring, access control entry, advanced camera systems, and intermedia IP phones, all designed to keep your business safe and connected. From small businesses to large enterprises, our expert team ensures seamless integration and around-the-clock monitoring, because security isn't just a service, it's our mission. Turner Security, powered by TechCore.
us at wgnsradio.com.
Bill Krau's third and final segment of the Thursday morning edition WGNS Radio Roundtable. We're having a delightful visit with Melinda Lawson of Cardinal Realty Solutions and her associate Josh Strickland, as well as Rhonda McCrary with Primus Mortgage. You know, it's kind of weird, Melinda, that here Saturday all the Cardinals are gathering at the funeral of the Pope, and you're Cardinal Realty. You going to be in Rome this weekend?
No, I will not be. But, you know, that could be on the bucket list to go to. I would love to go to Rome, but
Absolutely,
I have no
but
desire
not for
to be in
this
that
purpose.
crowd. No.
Rhonda, first, give us a phone number. You know, if somebody's saying, I'd like to call the mortgage company, you know, I hear things, I read things, I see the Federal Reserve Board up and down, no interest, high interest, low interest. What's your phone number and how should they reach you?
My phone number is 615-419-9193.
One more time.
615-419-9193. And you can reach me there about any time. That's my cell phone number, and I'm always answering. If I'm awake, I'm answering. So.
And your offices are located where?
My office is on Medical Center Parkway. It's 1639 Medical Center Parkway, right across from the hospital.
How many years have you been in the mortgage business?
35 plus years.
So you recall back, well, maybe not, when interest rates were like 20%
I don't. That was before me.
Okay, I was managing money at that time.
Yeah, they were in around 8-9%, and then started coming down. So I started in like 89, 90 in that range there. But I have seen a lot of roller coaster ups and downs, a lot of excitement going on, a lot of changes too.
Basically in the Rutherford County area? Or?
Yeah, everywhere. I do mortgages everywhere also. So I'm here in Murfreesboro, but I do mortgages all over Tennessee and all over the United States. I have loans closing in Florida, South Carolina, everywhere.
It's fantastic. And Melissa, phone number?
Our office number is 615-422-7035.
And one more time?
615-422-7035.
And your offices are located where?
We are at 2223 Northwest Broad Street here in Murfreesboro.
Good. And you've been in the business how long?
I had to count it up, 14 years.
And basically in Rutherford County?
I have been in Rutherford County.
Primarily residential, or have you done non-residential?
I've just started in some non-residential, but I have primarily been residential. We service Rutherford County. Actually, we service most of Middle Tennessee. We try to stay within about hour and a half, 2 hours. So we service, go all the way up to Clarksville, Cookeville, all of Middle Tennessee. If you need us, we'll go.
And Josh, got to have a background from you. Josh is an extremely interesting and gifted young man. You were born where, and I know you spent a number of years with the military. With your background?
I was born in Selmer, Tennessee, grew up in Smyrna, Tennessee.
I claim down the street.
I'm a Tennessee native, and I'm proud of that.
And who's the baseball team you like?
The Tennessee Volunteers, World Series champions right now.
And is there any other team you like?
The Atlanta Braves.
And anyone else, Josh?
And is there a third team you like?
We can come up. We love sports, but we just enjoy this opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Bill, for letting us come and spend this time with you today.
And are you going back active duty coming up?
Yes, sir. I report at the end of May.
And do you know where your duty station is?
Yes, sir. We're going to the Middle East.
Wow. So. I hope that's not a headline of something big to come, but we'll
leave
that for security purposes.
Also excited to announce that my wife, Angie's about to get her real estate license, so she'll be carrying on the business while I'm gone. So
great.
We're just very excited that the Lord has put us where we're at, and I feel like this is God's will and God's timing.
Well, the three of you all might want to comment before we close. You're not producing a product. Yes, the product may be a building. You're producing a quality service. And I think what is extremely much of a testimony is people who have been extremely pleased and satisfied with your service and the ability to see them after they've lived in the property for a period of time. You know, I was thinking as you were talking, you know, many times realtors will give gifts to the person who just purchased a home. And I sit on the tree board, City of Brentwood, and I thought, you know, if you gave a little tree for planting in the new property, just think that tree will grow and grow and grow. And they will always remember that that tree was given to me by Melinda and Josh, back when we bought the home 25 years ago. And now the tree is bigger than the house is. Tell me about quality of service.
Oh, I guess that one's coming to me. We just strive, like Josh pinpointed it earlier, we just strive to really listen to our clients, whether they're sellers or buyers, and help them to make the best of their product. Sellers, help them to make the best of their house. You had mentioned earlier about should we just give a credit or make the repairs ourselves or the updates. And it really kind of depends on that seller's position, if they can or not. I think buyers want to move into a house that's already done. They don't. A lot of people don't want to do the projects these days. So we just try to give the best information we can for what they have and help them with whatever their needs are. Just guide them. We have a series of vendors that we keep on hand to help them with the needs that they need that we refer out. We just try to be truthful. We try to be just guide them, help them with whatever they need. We just try to really listen to their needs and follow what they're wanting, but also just kind of be a guide through that is this really going to work for you, and help them make the best decisions for themselves.
How do you personalize the mortgage business? Somebody comes in and you throw them a lot of figures, and this is their interest rate and this is their down payment, and they suddenly walk out with a headache because you have been like a math teacher that you said you got to know all these equations. But how do you personalize it besides you being a lady that is of great service in mind?
Yeah, well, I try not to get too involved with numbers. There's some customers that do, and that's okay. They're the ones that do like the numbers, but I try not to get too involved with the numbers because it goes over people's head. They don't want to hear about all that. They want to know what their payment is. They want to know the interest rate just because they're curious about the interest rate. Not that it really matters to them or anything. My first house I bought, the interest rate was at a 6% ARM. I didn't care really. At the end of the day, I cared that my payment was $500 a month.
Wow.
And that was my concern. So every person that I talk to, I try to treat them like I would want to be treated if I was sitting in their chair, or how I would treat my own child or my own kid who are grown. That's how I do, and it's always done well for me, just to give them a good experience and to treat them the way I want to be treated.
The golden rule of real estate.
And that's why I have a lot of repeat business out there.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. We've had such a wonderful pleasure. And I hope for a lot of folks out in the radio audience that this information was very handy. And it's information that is timely. It's information that helps you make, of course, the biggest financial decision of your life is buying a home. So we thank Melinda Lawson of Cardinal Realty. You're not going to roam this weekend, I understand. Josh Strickland, a relatively newcomer to Cardinal Realty, but a gentleman who has got a great amount of compassion and dedication. And Rhonda McCurry, and I have to say, Miranda at Primus Mortgage, this is the silent heroes of real estate. The real estate agent, the real estate broker is very high profile, high active. But the people, the silent people that make it successful are the Rondas of the world. Thank you. Congratulations. And all of you, we'll see you next week. Bye now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.